Hello, in this video, I will go over some fundamentals about Microsoft Project, which is one of the most popular project management software. You will see how we can use it to develop a list of project tasks and allocate resources, assign people to certain tasks. There are a couple of ways to build a project. You can start from scratch, or you can utilize an existing template on your computer or online. Regardless, make sure you change the project start date from the project information area. So let's take a look at the project information area, how you can modify it. It is under the project tab and the project information button. In the opened dialog box, you will be able to modify the start date. And you can select from the calendar, and same thing for the finish date. There are also other type of options you can select. For example, calendar can be changed from the standard to 24-hour or night shift type of calendar. As an example, we can change using the calendar to go back to a particular start date. And click on OK. You can now enter the tasks. The tasks, again, are based on your WBS. Let's say this is your WBS. As this example is not complete. As you can see here, you have 3 upper level phases. Tasks 1, 2, 3. And they are broken down to further couple more levels. Then you can copy the entire WBS. Go to Project. Under Project, you have several different columns. By default, go under Task Name and paste. This is important. Right after you paste, make sure you go to Paste Options. Select Match Destination Formatting. Notice as soon as I click on this, the upper level tasks are bolded, and that's what we want. Now is a good time to look at the components of Microsoft Project screen. On top, you have the ribbon. In the middle, you have the timeline, which we will be talking about it. Bottom portion, you start with your row headers. Those row headers indicate the tasks. For example, task 1 is initiation. Next column is indicators. The notes will be shown here, or warnings, attention items will be under this column. Task mode, we'll be talking about that, manual versus auto. We just inserted the tasks under the task name column. There's duration, start, finish as the default, predecessors. You can also insert additional columns by going to Insert Column area. To the right is your calendar to show the Gantt chart. By default, the first view we have in Microsoft Project is the Gantt chart. You can actually right-click on the Gantt chart area, that little vertical bar. You will see a variety of other types of views. We'll be talking about those in the next video. So let's talk more about the tasks. We have tasks that's bolded. As I mentioned, the upper level tasks, and then there are the primitive tasks. The primitive tasks basically means they have no further breakdowns. The tasks that have subtasks are summary tasks, and they are bolded in the Gantt chart. Another very important piece of information about the difference between a summary task and a primitive task is that the primitive tasks are estimated during the planning stage. The summary tasks will automatically aggregate the estimates based on the primitive tasks. We can view the task information by double-clicking on any given task, the name of the task. You can see there are several different tabs that you can enter information, particularly under the name, you have % complete, which can be used to track completion of the tasks by increasing the percentages. To summarize what we just went through, we looked at the Task Information tab, looked at the summary tasks versus the primitive tasks, and again remember, when we estimate, we only estimate for primitive tasks. If you made a mistake in a task name, you can change that very easily by clicking on it and enter additional words or making modifications. Once you finish, you can just press enter and you're done. If you discover that you need to insert certain tasks that you're missing, for example, in developing a project charter, you need to determine who the project manager is. So before task 7, you will need to insert a new task. To do that, you right-click on the row header, select Insert Task, and you will see a new task is entered. And you can start typing and enter. Deleting a task is very similar. Just right-click on the row header of the task you want to delete and select Delete Task. Once all the tasks are in and finalized, we can start creating dependencies, meaning that setting predecessors for tasks that must be complete before you're moving on to the next. Once the dependencies are done, you can insert lag time as well. You can also set deadline dates for tasks, which will not affect the calculation of the project schedule. Additional things can be entered, include constraints for tasks. They can be set very easily as well. So let's take a look at it in project. Dependencies are determined using the PDM diagram. For example, develop project ideas must occur before discuss and select project idea. So in order to depict that, you will select by clicking on the header of that task and hold down your Shift key, click on the dependent task. Make sure you're back to the Home tab, and then in the center you have the Schedule group, and there is this link icon, and if you select that link tasks, you will see in the calendar area an arrow has been added to add additional linkages. You can select, and you can also hold down your Control key to select non-adjacent tasks. And once you finish selecting all the tasks that need to be linked, you can go back to Link Tasks, and voila. Let's talk about lag time. The best example. Let's talk about lag time. The best example to think about lag time is construction. When you pour your concrete, you have to give a certain number of days before you can move on to set up the frame of the house. So that wait time is lag time. Let's, for example, say that there is a lag time between finalized project idea and determine and appoint project manager. So we find that link between the two tasks. Okay? And we can actually double click on that link. To the right of that dialog box is the lag time. If you say there are 2 days between those two tasks, you can enter it that way. Also shown in the task dependency dialog box is the types of task dependencies. The most common type is the finish to start, but there are other types as well. Start to start, finish to finish, start to finish. For example, the finish to finish is when you are serving maybe a big Thanksgiving meal. You have several different dishes, and you want everything to finish at the same time, so everything is piping hot while you're serving your guests. Once you determine the type of dependencies, and you can click on OK. And you can see there are a couple of extra days added between the two tasks. Once all the dependencies, lag time, and constraints are entered, you're ready to enter resources. Resources include people, materials, travel, and can be generic names such as interns. It can be actual names of people. And let's take a look at how we can enter the resource list. Keep in mind that max units is the same thing as availability we talked about in Unit 10. Resources are entered in Resource Sheet, which is a different view. To change to that, we right-click on that vertical view bar and select Resource Sheet. Now, we are ready to enter the resources. First, we start entering the names of the resources on the resource name column. For example, project sponsor. And once you enter, a lot of things are coming into view. First thing is one of the most important thing is the type of resource. So work stands for really people or resources that work for the project. So people, labor go towards this. And the material that's used, initial is just an abbreviation that can be changed. You can actually go in there. You can say project sponsor. Max unit is very important, is equivalent of availability. 100% means there is one project sponsor, or you can say the project sponsor has only 50% of time. The standard rate is how much the hourly rate. By default is the hourly rate. You can change that to other types as shown on the PowerPoint. We'll see that in a second. So we can enter any kind of rate you want. You can also indicate overtime rate. If there are any kind of consultants, maybe you use them, they charge a one-time fee plus the hourly rate. In that case, you can add the cost per use. And to add additional resources, you just keep on typing in the resource name. For example, maybe I can enter some team members' names. For example, Lindsay, Jared, Kelsey, and all of these are work, and we can specify their maximum unit. And if you split between different jobs, maybe you only have 50% of time for the project, and you can specify your rates. The second type of resource is material. For example, flip chart. Once we specify that material, we need to make sure the type is changed and specify the unit cost. The third type of resource is cost, which cannot be calculated using unit cost. It's more incurred when you actually use it. For example, travel. So travel is a type of cost. Once you define that particular resource as a cost, you can see there isn't anything that you can change except